Hi, I'm Annabel.
And I'm Mandy.
And welcome to the Collaborate Southwest podcast.
We believe in the ethos of a rising tide lifts all boats. For each episode, we'll be bringing you conversations and insights from the people behind the brightest ideas and innovations from across the Southwest, whatever business or sector that may be.
As well as a few curveballs to make you smile and lift your day.
Join us over the coming weeks.
And please, if you like us, do leave us a 5-star review to let us know we're going in the right direction. Enjoy! We are delighted today to welcome Karime Hassan, Chief Executive and Growth Director of Exeter City Council. We're going to be discussing collaboration and what that means for businesses in Exeter today. But first, Karime, tell us a little bit about your role across the city.
Okay, so I often see myself as somebody whose job it is to lead place. Really, that means not just the organisation, the City Council, but to be a voice for the city and to galvanise collective efforts to really deliver the vision we have for our place.
Yeah, that's really important. That place element is really interesting, and I'm sure we'll touch on that with some of the questions that we're going to be discussing. So on that note, how key do you think collaboration will be for businesses to succeed in the new world?
So what I would say, I would start off with my master's dissertation was on public-private partnerships. It's something that I've always done throughout my career. And it is a sense of which the outcomes that you want to achieve, very seldom do you have all the means at your disposal, the levers that you can pull to deliver those outcomes. Generally, you often need to cooperate in order to secure the outcomes that you want. And in the public sector, particularly in terms of a leadership of a place, that's really important. You know, we can talk about growth, but quite often people say it's not just growth, we want inclusive growth, and we also want to create a great place. And all the ingredients you need to assemble to make a successful business and to support business requires generally cooperation and collaboration. And I would say to you, one of the biggest challenges that people have is to give up a little bit of control in order to create that collaboration.
Yeah.
And that's really difficult for people, giving up control. So for us in the city has been, I would say, the standout quality that makes Exeter pretty special as a place to do business. It's the ability to cooperate. And you see it all over the place. So an example would be, you've got the Ted Rag Trust that works to provide education in the city, and that collaboration brings together the university as well as businesses and the college, Exeter College, and it's quite a unique relationship they have there. And then you look at what's going on outside of Exeter at the Science Park and the Impact Lab that's working at the Science Park, and that's a number of institutions coming together to deliver local impact. And so that requires collaboration, again, for a shared outcome, shared endeavor. So that to me is really the secret of success for individual companies, but also the secret of success for the place.
Yeah.
That's interesting that you lead with we all need to give up a little bit of control to collaborate. Our ethos is it's a place where you leave egos at the door. But Andrew from Exeter City Futures, that the first thing that he led with around the subject of how do you be a leader, and he said you have to be humble. You actually have to step back and relinquish control in order to lead a collaboration.
Yeah. It's about identifying strengths in other people as well, though, isn't it? You can't do it all. And so therefore that's kind of the key to collaboration, is to identify the people that you need around you, and in leadership as well, that bring that to the table.
So it's particularly the case when you're creating a city with a common agenda. And we all want to achieve something. So for example, in our area for years, people have said our wage levels is not as high as the rest of the country. We need to improve the wage levels. We need, therefore, access to skilled labor, and we need to get the kind of jobs and businesses here that will support higher wages. And then when you start to work through the, walk through the process, really you then need to collaborate to achieve that. So that's collaboration between businesses. It's collaboration with people who provide the infrastructure. So for example, very recently, the local enterprise partnership has provided funding for the college to build a new digital hub at the city, and that will then support digital skills across the peninsula. Well, the college on its own couldn't have achieved that. The
No.
level needed delivery partners. We as a city need that skilled labor. We need that investment. So everywhere you look at it, you have to collaborate to achieve that bigger goal.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. And concentrating obviously on the Exeter, very concentrating on Exeter for now as well. How do you think Exeter will have to adapt and change to be able to collaborate across borders?
Okay. So if we look at the work of our university, I mean, a university is a fantastic institution in the city, and it's a great example of what's had to happen to achieve the success. So it's taken itself from a kind of mid-ranking university with a good reputation, but it's actually taken it to a Russell Group university. And so one of the things that it's done is it's joined forces with other universities in the Great Western, it's basically GW4 Alliance. So it's the 4 universities, intensive research-based universities at Cardiff, Exeter, Bristol and Bath. And so they bid for research funding as a collaboration.
Mm.
And when you look at what they've done internationally as well, so a lot of the work that they've done to get their the world-class status, reaching out, is being to collaborate with partners across the world. And so they've had to build in those markets supporters and partners to be able to then bring students to Exeter.
Mm.
And I think that example is a really good example for all of us. You're in a relatively small economic center. We have about under 4,000 people who earn their living in Exeter. We drive the sub-region, but when you see it in a national context, we're very small. But what we have got is some really notable qualities that are potential for developing. And so by combining and by working in collaboration, and that might be, for example, the likes of Plymouth, who do export more, they've got a stronger manufacturing base than, say, Exeter, but Exeter's got strengths in other areas. And when you begin to work collaboratively at a regional level, then the opportunity then is to get a greater slice of the pie, if you like, at national level to our area. And that can only be achieved by us collaborating and thinking really cleverly about where you want to go, what you want to achieve. And what you had with your last speaker, Andrew from Exeter City Futures, is somebody who has to work collaboratively across the city, the stakeholders, in order to articulate a view of our city where we need support, but also the ambitions we've got for the place.
Mm. Yeah, I know that the university, that's been on their agenda for a long time, hasn't it? Working internationally, they've been really working hard to get those relationships in place in order to bring diversity and all different cultures back to Exeter. Is that part of it as well, the diversity topic?
Yeah. So I think one of the essential ingredients for any area to be successful economically is you've got to have a good, strong supply of skilled labor. And in today's world, that's a global challenge. There's a worldwide war for talent between economies. You want to get the best people in order to drive new businesses, and particularly in terms of innovation, entrepreneurial behavior. What you want are those kind of skills. So from our point of view is, okay, so it's attracting, retaining skilled labor, skilled staff, building a life here.
Yeah.
And in particular for us, how do we raise ambitious levels with ambition within our youngest people who are going through the schooling system, that there are these opportunities locally that they're going to be able to access, and they need to be part of that economic story.
Yeah, well, your vision has always been attracting and retaining talent in Exeter, hasn't it? That's always been part of your conversation. So how do you think the strategy has had to adapt, or has it been fast-tracked, do you think, due to COVID?
So this is one of the long-term things. You don't solve the problem overnight. So COVID will accelerate processes. But if you look at the challenge for Devon, right? So we're living in a beautiful part of the world, but it has a very aging demographic profile. Yeah. Exeter bucks the trend because it's a younger demographic, but it's young because of deliberate things we're doing. So we're targeting the economy, we're targeting the type of firms and businesses that we provide here. But it relates to things like accommodation. So we've got lots of students that come through our university, but they're not necessarily staying, they're leaving. And that's understandable, but we need to hold more of those students locally. And we know that the stickiness of students to a place is often a very powerful lever for driving economic growth. So if we can keep some of them, greater proportion of them there in Exeter, that's going to be good for us. Now, one of the first things they'll say is, well, I need a place to live. And I think that's a real challenge for us. You know, are we providing the kind of accommodation that will be suitable for youngsters who are, say, finishing university, finishing college to build a career? So we've done something fairly recently. We've tried to get off the ground what we call co-living, which is a way of renting accommodation that might meet a particular lifestyle for a particular period of time, especially younger people coming out of university who perhaps are not ready to get on the housing ladder quite now, but want accommodation. So we've seen that come through now, and planning permission has been granted for one scheme. We're now driving the Livable Exeter program, which is about delivering higher density developments that might provide the kind of accommodation that we want for our youngsters. So you need the jobs, and you do need the accommodation for them. And then there's something really difficult, which is they also need an attractive cultural environment. If you're young, you want to be doing cool things and hanging around cool people. And if you don't have the facilities for that, they ain't going to.
No, they're not going to stay, are they? No.
So, and that's a challenge for us because you know what it's like in the city centre, particularly now with COVID. You know, it's been hammering the cultural sector, the entertainment, the nightlife.
Yeah.
And you do need those facilities if you're going to retain young people. So we are very concerned about it. We've been making, obviously, lobbying on behalf of that sector to try and get investment to them to help them through this difficult period. But the long-term goal is to provide the kind of environment that makes it attractive for younger people, actively working, you know, the active working population. Because the rest of Devon is aging so far advanced to the rest of the country that if we don't compensate, then we've got a problem in Devon.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, obviously, tech is really key with younger generation, with all of us now more so than ever. But how has Exeter embraced new technologies, and what's happening that maybe we don't know about, that you would have an insight to, that would allow us to converse on a national and global level with new technologies?
So, you know, the basics is you need a good digital infrastructure base, haven't you? And if it's not there, and for years in Exeter, never mind the rural areas in Exeter, we were having concerns raised by the business community that they didn't have the right digital infrastructure, or it was available but at a price which was exorbitant for them. That's changed dramatically. The coverage of fibre within the city is tremendously compared to where it was, and you've got lots of providers competing in this market, so it's vibrant as well. There's good competition for delivering fibre. What I would say is this: I mean, you're showing, and we're doing it, we're communicating virtually now, and it's working. And COVID has absolutely accelerated that. Yeah, we've done things in weeks that would have taken years.
Yeah.
Over 80% of my staff now are online, working from home.
Yeah.
And that shift was unthinkable a year ago, right? The degree of the shift. So that's shown how important digital infrastructure is. You now got an issue with 5G. There's a lot of local opposition. There's conspiracy theories, all kinds of things going on about 5G. The reality is, in many parts of the world and in many parts of the country, they're going for 5G in a big way. What I would say is this: from a city perspective, I've been less focused on the technology. I've been sort of technology agnostic. I've been much more concerned about creating an environment for collaboration. So what you would have seen with Exeter City Futures when you spoke to Andrew was his focus is on problem solving in the city and collaborating amongst our institutions to solve those problems. And that mindset of taking a problem, working very differently in terms of the approach to solving that problem, and using data in a way that gives us opportunities to get insights to solve it, irrespective of the digital platforms. That methodology is one. If you can solve those problems in that style, in that manner, you can apply it to many, many, many challenges. So for us, it's been much more about creating the right collaboration environment, creating the right attitude amongst our institutions. And this is a really important point, so that they're invested in the locality for impact. Because it's very easy for an organization like the Met Office to be focused on its agenda, which is worldwide in terms of weather forecasting, as opposed to what happens in this community where their workers come and how they get to work and the impact of energy on the Met Office and how you provide the energy, how do we plan for a world where we come out of fossil fuels. So what we've been working on is a very clear vision for the city where that problem solving quality is something that we focus on and really seek to show others and other places how you can do it. And that's what Exeter Future is trying to do.
Yeah.
So we've got some really talented people, lots of people, smart people who are in the digital sector, and what they're trying to do with the work we're doing, such as I mentioned, the Impact Lab at the Science Park, where collaboration to solve challenges that business face.
Yeah, and actually a lot of our conversations have really been centered around you have to have people first. First of all, you have to have the people, and then the technologies enhance the collaborative efforts. But without the people, you don't get the problem solving. Without that trust base, technology is a tool that really won't go very far. So it's interesting to hear you kind of back that up as well.
Yeah.
Well, what I would say to you is, just if you looked at the Southwest England and Southeast Wales science audit, which documents the assets that we have, which are world class and international quality, you look at the presence in our area of these world class assets in digital, in technology. You have, for example, one of the biggest supercomputers in the world on your doorstep at the Met Office. The next supercomputer that goes to Met Office might well go to the cloud rather than being based physically in the city. The expertise that goes with that analysis, who understand how to handle big data, reside in this part of the world. So you've got, on the one hand, supercomputers and genuinely world-class talent applying themselves in this area, and then down to the individual business where they're only as good as the quality of their fiber in the ground. And between that, we've got a whole range now of new digital businesses starting up that are coming here because of what you already have, some of the capabilities here. And we're saying, as a city, as a place, that's something that we should be building on. And we have a particular expertise in climate science and mathematical modeling, and digital as a basic infrastructure is essential. But what you have in terms of the intellect, the analytics that's going on is remarkable and is world class. We just now need to make the most of that and capitalize on it.
Yeah, and retain, and like you say, keep retaining that talent, isn't it? And making sure that we build the place around, which is how we started the conversation. So that's been brilliant. Thank you so much, Karime. We've loved having that conversation with you and hearing how collaboration really is at the heart of everything you've been doing since forever. So it's not just the buzzword of now, it's at the heart of what you've always believed in, which is so great to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Also, just to blow a hole really in that whole private public sector non-partnership, which it can be a little bit of a misnomer out there, and for you to say actually my master's was actually in that subject, bringing private and public sector together. So it's really good to know that it's a genuine thing.
I was 36 years ago.
So you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think so.
That's amazing.
Okay.
Thank you, Karime.
All the best to you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening.
We really hope you enjoyed, and if you've got any insights or you'd like us to feature you in a future episode,
Please do get in touch.
oh, and don't forget the 5 stars if you liked us.
Bye.